it's just devastating to see people like that. And everybody, assumes well, that's what happens to people when you get old. Exercise is medicine. This was the most beneficial thing that people could do to improve their life and such. Every birthday from this point on is I'm going to try and be a little bit stronger than I was on my last birthday. Any kind of sales, and especially with older clients and such, is why do they seek you out and such? And a lot of these people have never done anything like this before. So it's a new experience to them. We try and make it warm and inviting, and we thank them for becoming a part of the family. We encourage them and let them know that essentially we've got their back. We're going to help them out. And they really appreciate that. A lot of times people get older and such, they feel like, they're irrelevant, but this gives them an opportunity. They're part of something. They can do something for themselves. Most people, they love it. They keep coming back.
Welcome to another episode brought to you by Imagine Strength, the future of safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Are you a HIIT studio owner looking for equipment that's not just top-notch, but also tailored to your specific needs? Imagine Strength is your answer. Inspired by the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength is revolutionizing the HIIT industry with their state-of-the-art yet affordable equipment. Their team doesn't just sell HIIT equipment, they live and breathe it. I've personally experienced their gear at the Resistance Exercise Conference, and let me tell you, it was an intense workout that I won't soon forget, in the best way possible, of course. So why choose Imagine Strength? Number one, they provide customized solutions for HIIT studios. Number two, they have budget-friendly yet high-performance designs. And number three, they're committed to innovation and excellence in high-intensity training specifically. Founder Jeff Turner and his dedicated team are on a mission to make HIIT accessible to everyone. Getting started is easy. Number one, visit imaginestrength.com. Number two, consult with their expert team. And number three, choose the equipment that will skyrocket your business. Don't wait. Head over to imaginestrength.com and elevate your HIIT studio today with Imagine Strength. Lawrence Snell here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for elevating your HIIT business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. I'm excited for this episode today. This is episode 442, and today's guest is the founder of Simply Strong Personal Training in Eugene, Oregon, and his name is Ed Collins, and this is a long time coming. Welcome, Ed. Great to see you, and thanks for doing this today.
Well, thank you, Lawrence. It's really a pleasure. I feel honored that you'd want to talk to me. So,
well, I appreciate you saying that. And I've always wanted to talk to you, obviously, since seeing your business grow, seeing you implement a lot of what you've learned from our colleagues, and I guess from some of the content we've put out there, and actually implement it. But also when I learned that you had 10 kids, and have been able to build a successful business. So I actually kind of wanted to start there, or maybe a step before that. I wanted to really talk about the motivation for starting Simply Strong. So can we start there, and you can maybe go down memory lane for us?
Sure. The immediate reason to start Simply Strong was financial. I was at a point in my life where I had to do something different, and I was concerned about making that change and getting involved in personal training. I have I think it's 46 years history in health and fitness business and such. But I never had a personal training facility of my own, never started a business. So it was a little, it was very intimidating, very nerve-wracking at first and such, but it was one of those kind of things where, hey, we have to be successful. And that was 10 years ago. And, right now it's, business is going well, and we're being successful, helping a lot of people, and we're great with that.
So what was the moment that it hinged on then? What happened, and why was it like, okay, we're going to do this, and we need to make it a financial success, or there was a financial motivation there? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, sure. But I should really kind of go back to the beginning. I got involved in health and fitness industry. Growing up, my mom used to watch Jack LaLanne, which was a an exercise guy on TV in the 50s and 60s and such, who a great looking guy and super great shape. And he started a television show for women at home. And I always thought it was later on I did, but I think it was genius that he figured a market that, wasn't being tapped, and the women loved him. And as a kid, I was, 5, 6 years old, and I would watch this guy and I thought, wow, this is great. And then growing up, I was always involved with sports and athletics, and that always kind of came easy to me and such. And I remember I was going to college, and I was talking to my mom one day, and I said, I really don't know what I want to do, and she said, well, if you got to do something, you might as well do something you enjoy. And so that's when I thought, okay. So I started pursuing, in those days, it was called physical education. Now it's called exercise science. And so as I was going to school, we had a traumatic event in my family. At the age of 59, my dad suffered a major stroke. He was on a vacation, and he wasn't able to get to a hospital until about 4 hours after suffering this stroke. So it was really paralyzed his right side of his body, and totally changed his life. And it really affected the life of our family as well, because now he goes from being this, head of the family, strong guy and everything, to being more dependent on everybody else and such. And that was a big change for him. And after he realized that, he tried to do some rehab and that sort of thing. And after he realized that, this looks like this is going to be permanent, he was talking to me one day, and he says, if I can give you any advice, don't let this happen to you. And so, I was thinking like, wow, I don't want to have a stroke. Right. And then, in her 60s, my mom started developing dementia, Alzheimer's, and, got to the point where we couldn't communicate. She couldn't communicate anymore. We couldn't communicate with her. And she had to go into an assisted care living type facility, memory care facility. And she became so osteoporotic and weak and such that she fell one night and broke her neck and passed away. And I just figured, like, I just don't want this to happen to me. And I don't want that to happen to my family and really anybody else. So I, started this journey of like, well, what can we do? And through my studies and such, realized that, exercise was like a medicine. That this could really help people improve their lives, help prevent some of these issues from occurring, and improve their longevity as well and the quality of their life. So that's always sort of been my goal. And my journey really started in 1978 in this business. But actually, I look back and I went to school I graduated in 1975 from University of California at Santa Barbara. And during that time I was there, I had rowed on being on the crew team in high school. And then when I went to Santa Barbara, I joined the crew team there, and I rowed there for 2 years. And when I graduated, the crew coach asked me to stay on and coach the freshman crew team coming in next year. And I thought, great, I got nothing else going on. So, okay, I'll do that. And I was coaching, and that's when I really learned I love coaching. I love working with people and helping them, and working towards a goal and such. And I got an opportunity to do graduate work at University of Southern California, USC, down in Los Angeles, and doing that as a scholarship and coaching their freshman crew team. And so I took that opportunity and went down there, moved down to Southern California, and was going to school there and such. And I was living down in probably about 50, 60 miles from here, down in Newport Beach, California, because my girlfriend lived down there. So I thought I'd sit near her. And I was looking for, graduate school is sort of like a part-time deal, go to school at night. And I was looking for a job in health and fitness, something that that was in my industry and such.
What were you
And
studying, sorry, at graduate school?
I was studying athletic administration. I thought maybe I was going to get
All
in the
right.
administration end of sports and that sort of thing. But after studying that for a while, I realized that this is not what I wanted to do. And I liked working with people, more one-on-one type thing. And so I was looking for jobs in sort of the fitness industry. And this is 1978. And the fitness boom was just kind of coming in, Nautilus had come out and that sort of thing. And I had applied at a couple jobs, but the first question they asked was, what sales experience you had? And I had none.
Hmm.
And so that was pretty much the end of the interview. Right. And, but anyway, my girlfriend and I were out to dinner one night, and there was a line at this restaurant, and we were sitting there in line, and the maitre d' comes out and he says, well, I got a table for 4 if you guys want to share a table. And this other couple, we sat down with them when we were talking, and it turns out this guy said, well, you should contact this place. It was called Sports Conditioning and Rehabilitation. Acronym was SCAR. I'd never heard of that. And he said, oh yeah, this is a famous place. This is a sports medicine place. All the athletes go here, and they have all the greatest equipment and this sort of thing. And I said, okay. So the next day I went down and gave him my resume, and was walking out of the facility. And I happened to come in there at a time when they were having a change in management. They had a philosophical difference as how the business should be run and such. And so they had essentially fired most of their staff. And so I came in just at the right time, and I gave my resume, and the director of the facility came out as I was walking to my car and says, hey, can you do an interview right now? And I said, sure. So he hired me on the spot, started as assistant manager. And this place was great. It was one of the first sports medicine type facilities. It was owned by an orthopedic surgeon. They had physical therapy there. They had 2 lines of Nautilus equipment. They had exercise bicycles. They had a free weight area. They had, and they sold memberships. We did a little bit of personal training, not much in those days. And they also had this whole physical therapy department. And so it wasn't about sales, it wasn't about getting to, selling people memberships and that sort of thing. It was more like really helping people that wanted to be helped. And in those early days, I started there, like I said, in 1978, that they worked with a lot of high school, college, and even professional athletes. And because in those days, professional teams didn't have their own trainers. They didn't have their own training facilities and that sort of thing. And so SCAR was like unique. It was different. And I was fortunate to be able to get in there and, for me to start at the bottom. And over time, 10 years later, I bought the facility from the doctor who was retiring and such.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I owned it until 2006, and then sold the business. But during that time, it was great because I learned about the Nautilus equipment. I learned about Arthur Jones. I got to meet Arthur Jones. I was one of the first people who brought like his Med-X spinal testing and rehabilitation equipment to the public and such. We also did the knee testing and rehabilitation machine. And it was just a super experience for me. Got to meet Vert Mooney, who was instrumental in doing a lot of research on that Med-X lumbar extension machine and how it was beneficial for people and such. But as you mentioned, I have a lot of kids, and we got to a point where we needed to move up to a bigger house. I didn't feel like we could afford a house living in Southern California and such. It can be pretty expensive. I think at that time we had 6 kids, and we had another one on the way. And I should back up and say that I have two sons from a previous marriage. And and at one time in my life, I was like the primary parent. They lived with me when they were about 2 and 3 years old. And during that time, I was, working at SCAR, being a full-time dad, trying to take care of the kids and juggling all the stuff. And people say, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? I says, well, you just do what you got to do.
You just adapt, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You
It's amazing the human
just make it happen.
capacity to adapt in those sort of situations. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so I met my wife through SCAR, my current wife and such, and we were married and started having kids, and
A lot of kids.
a lot of kids. and so anyway, we got to this point where I figured like, okay, the business is doing okay, and we were really the business. Most of the revenue was coming from physical therapy, rehabilitation, referrals from doctors and such. So you just had to maintain good relationships with doctors. That changed over time because some of the doctors decided, well, we should just open our own facility, and they did that. And also there were starting the laws to come out that saying like that doctors couldn't own their own facility that wasn't like immediately within their practice and such. So they couldn't have a freestanding type facility and such. And
I see.
so it was getting more and more difficult, and decided that we really couldn't afford living in Southern California, but I didn't want to sell the business. So Eugene, Oregon was the place where my wife's family lived, her mom and dad and some brothers and sisters. And we'd always visited there during the summer times and such. And I thought this ought to be a nice place to retire to. And I decided, like, let's just move up there now with the kids. And so we did. We moved in 2000 up to Eugene here, and love it. It's a great facility. We were able to buy a house with some property, about 9 acres for kids.
Wow.
Grew up on that, and it was a great experience for them. For me, it was not so great because I was traveling a lot to Southern California for the business and such. And
What was your commute like?
Pardon me?
What was your commute like time? How long did that take?
It took a long time. I mean, I would fly down there.
I see.
Typically, there weren't direct flights. You'd have to fly from Eugene to Portland to San Francisco to LA or whatever. And,
Oh, wow.
and after about a year, that got real old real quick. And so I started looking to sell that business. And it was one of the things I learned was you can't run a business from a distance.
So you were trying to run it remotely, and you had people on the
Correct.
ground there running it, but it suffered because you weren't able to be there.
Exactly. You're not there. You can't
Right.
put your full effort into it as you know. So
Mm-hmm. Certainly in the
looked at
beginning.
product business.
Yeah.
Yeah. But up here in Eugene, I was sort of semi-retired because, I wasn't there at SCAR anymore as such. And I was looking for something to do. And I happened to come across, through a mutual friend who introduced me to this chiropractor who had a chiropractic facility. And he was looking to start a spinal rehabilitation program in conjunction with his chiropractic. And so we talked, and with my experience with the medics equipment and that sort of thing, we partnered together and started a rehabilitation spinal testing using the medics equipment. We bought that medics lumbar extension machine. We bought a line of Ken Hutchins super slow equipment. And we had a small little area in his practice, and did that for about 6 years. But it finally hit me that look, I sold my business, my SCAR in Southern California, to a physical therapist and such. So that place that still exists. It's still running, and it's been there for, I don't know, almost 50 years now. It's amazing. But so we came to the realization that this is a chiropractic business. Number one, we're not really marketing this spinal rehabilitation and such. Insurance wasn't paying for that, and a lot of the patients, if their insurance wasn't going to pay for this, they weren't going to pay for it either. And
That
So,
insurance issue still exists today, really, doesn't
oh,
it?
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
crazy. That's the one
Yeah.
thing that why that MedX machine never caught on. Um, I know, uh, Werner Kieser in Europe and such. He um, he actually bought the rights, I guess, or whatever, to manufacture not or MedX equipment in Europe. Arthur Jones gave him that ability to do that, and he took that whole concept and probably did what Arthur should have done, which was provide facilities, Kieser training facilities that included, the spinal rehabilitation and rehabilitation and such, and had a doctor or physical therapist there running that program and such, and then hired exercise physiologists to train people out on the floor and keep everything under one deal instead of, Arthur's deal was, hey, I manufacture equipment and I'm going to sell the equipment and you can do whatever you want with it. And
Hmm.
so I think that kind of led to its demise ultimately, which is too bad. But anyway, so getting back to me and my story here, we decided that, look, financially, this is not working for us with my family. We now had um, we had 8 kids. We had 2 more kids after we moved up here. And I had the 2 other boys who made the decision to stay down in Southern California. They were like 15 and 13 at the time. And they decided they wanted to stay down there with their mom and their friends and what they knew. They didn't want to move with us. And so they stayed there. We moved the rest of the family up here. When we made that decision to open our own facility, it was Jeff Turner, who has Imagine Strength now, that I had met him when he was selling Nautilus equipment when I was at Scar and such, and he and I became friends. And he's a high energy guy, real positive and that sort of thing.
Very much so.
And I was kind of telling my dilemma, and he says, Ed, just start your own facility, man. Just do your own thing, And I was, real still kind of hesitant about doing that. My wife was financially like, oh no, we can't do this, and finally we got to the point. It's like, okay, let's do it. Okay. And so Jeff was instrumental. We were going to do like a partnership thing, and he had his own facilities called Abstract Bodyworks, and he still has 2 of those facilities up in Washington. And we were going to be another Abstract Bodyworks, and so we started out that way. And within the first 90 days, I realized this is not going to work for me. I'm just not a partner kind of guy. I just want to do this on my own, do my own thing and such. And so I told Jeff this, and he wasn't really excited about that, but that cost me some money to get out of that partnership and such. But then I had to come up with a new branding, new everything, and I'm out working with some clients. And to be honest, I was fortunate because when we opened that business, I had clients that were with me at this other facility, and they followed me to my facility. And so when we started, we had maybe 25 people to start with right off from day one, which was great. And back then we were selling them a membership, like sessions and such. And so we could get a lot of money up front, and then they would use those sessions up and such. So
yes, you'd sell packages basically, right?
Yeah, it helped us. Yeah. It helped us cash flow wise to begin with and such, and to get started. But I don't know, go into this later, but later on that didn't work for us. But anyway, so I was out on the floor training somebody, and I started thinking we had to come up with another name, and I came up with the name Simply Strong. This is it. This is the way that simple, safe, and effective and time efficient way of helping people get stronger and be healthier and live longer and such. And so Simply Strong was born. We changed all of our logos and everything and identity, and did all that. And fortunately, during that time when we started to open the business, my oldest daughter, Katie, she kind of followed my footsteps. We have a picture of me when she was maybe 3 years old, and I'm doing some exercise at home, on a videotape and such. And she's right next to me doing the same exercises, such or trying to anyway. So, so she was always wanted to do this. She was an athlete. She played basketball and that sort of thing. And so she was going to school, studying exercise science. And so uh, so she joined us. And so she and I and my wife actually opened this business together. And, at first, long hours and you're really tired and that kind of stuff. But it's grown and it's been successful. And now I have another daughter that works for us and a son that works for us as well. And so it's really a family business. And people like that. People like a family business. People always ask us, is this a franchise? Is this? No, this is a small family business that we got. They just, oh, that's great. So
Yeah, a lot of people make that assumption, don't they? They always assume it's a franchise a lot of the time because there's so many of them now, and so many of them are hard to tell that they're a franchise.
yeah, yeah. I guess I don't know if it's a compliment or not. I don't know,
I
but
don't think so. Not based on I think people's assumption because they think family feel it's more I don't know um, charming and authentic and caring. I don't know. I mean, obviously this is just perception. It's not matter of fact. I'm guessing that's the perception issue. I don't know. Yeah.
well, I look at it as a blessing. Like if you have a family, I never. It gives people an opportunity. Look, if you want to work in a family business, we'd love to have you and such. But that's not what you have to do. And obviously, there's only 3 of my kids that do. So
Yeah.
so the other ones are doing their own things, which is great. But I look at it as a blessing that I get to work with some of my family all the time and such. And maybe they get sick of me. I don't know, but
That's really nice. Let me just go way back. I wanted to ask you this at the start, but I really just wanted to let you flow because the story was fascinating. Hearing you actually go down memory lane and literally go from start to finish in kind of like a summarized high level fashion. That was really great. But one of there's 2 things that really fascinated me. Tell me, and I'm going to aid you here if you don't mind, Ed, but tell me when your mother said you're trying to figure out what to do, was that trying to figure out what to pursue in terms of education or career? And she said, do something you're passionate about. What was that? Was that what you were going to study or was that what you were going to do with your life? I'm trying to just clarify that.
that was, yeah, because when you first start, high school is just kind of blah, but then when you go on to college and such, initially you don't have to really pick a major, right? You're just taking, undergraduate
Right.
classes and such and sort of general education things. And this was a crazy time. This was like 1969, 1970.
Well, here's my point, right? It's like to say, hey, you should go and do something you're passionate about then. Maybe it was kind of more popular then because I know there was a stage of I can't remember exactly. I know certain decades there was more emphasis on you should just be grateful to go and have a job, right? Just go and get a job. It's not about doing something you're passionate about. And then
Right.
I think more going into perhaps the 70s and 80s, there was more of that do something you're passionate about kind of in the zeitgeist more, So was that unusual for instance, among your friends and family? Was it more like, yeah, you just go and get a job and that was unusual? Like your mother would kind of encourage you in that way? Or was it not? Am I incorrect about that?
I don't know if it was unusual, but I had experience with just having a job. Every time I had my first job I ever had, I think I was 15 years old, and I was working at a skate rink, and I was the guy that would give out skates and take the skates in and patrol the ice and that kind of stuff. I hated it. I hated it. I couldn't wait to get out of there. And I had some other jobs that I just hated, and even in there was a point in time where when I was in school and, uh, I really wasn't sure what I was doing. I was at the University of Washington in the freshman year. And this was during the time when the Vietnam War was going on and such. And they had a draft lottery and I was in that draft lottery, but I had been injured playing football in high school. And I was given a 4F deferment, which meant that I wasn't physically capable to go into the service, which was, to be honest, a big relief. I didn't want to, that time, I didn't want to go to war and such. And you got to understand, I grew up in Berkeley, California, which was like the epicenter of this whole cultural revolution and free speech and, protesting of the war and that sort of thing. And,
I see.
but I'm probably the most conservative guy now that ever come out of Berkeley. So, but
And
I
you
did
go,
have an experience where I, once I realized that I wasn't going to have to go into the military and such, that I didn't know what I was pursuing in school. I thought this was a waste of money and a waste of time. So I was able to get a job working in construction for a while. And after about a year and a half of doing that, I figured like, this is not what I want to do either, with a job. And so, that's when I went back to school. And that's when my mom, because I was telling her, I don't know what to do. And she said, well, do something, like you said, you do something you're passionate about. And I was always passionate about health and fitness. I was, I like to stay in shape and such. And so I started pursuing that education. And then I wound up at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and graduated there with a degree in physical education. And I mentioned my daughter, she graduated in 2000, I think it was 2013 when we opened the business.
Mhm.
And hers title was exercise science. But I would see what she was studying. And to be honest, Lawrence, it was the same exact stuff that I learned back in 1973 and 4. And it was like, it didn't, and everything was sort of geared around athletes. It wasn't,
It's not moved on.
it
Yeah.
was training for athletes and such, and not for regular type people who needed it the most,
Mhm.
So through my education, reading about Arthur Jones, Nautilus, and the value of resistance training, that in high intensity resistance training, and that's what really kept us going, and really that's what our business is all about now.
Yeah. And one of the other things I found quite fascinating, what you said, is obviously you've got a huge motivation from what happened to your parents. And I think it was either after when your father had the severe stroke or your mother passed away that you started really looking into like, how can you control this? How can you help mitigate the risks of these chronic diseases and improve quality of life? What year would that have been, roughly? Can you send us back there for a sec?
Um, that was probably, it wasn't too much. It was probably in the 70s.
70s. Okay. So
And then in
yeah.
the 80s. And then, like I said, my mom, this was after my dad had passed away. So when my mom started developing dementia and Alzheimer's and such, that was probably more in the 90s.
Okay.
Um, but it's just devastating to see people like that. And everybody, assumes that's what happens to people when you get old.
Exactly.
That's what it
Exactly.
is.
But this was where I was going with this question is, it's interesting to me that way back then you had optimism about the idea of finding a way to have control of this. And again, like even now, there's still that pervasive thinking around, oh, you just get old. And of course, there is certain things we don't have control of. And yes, as you get older, obviously you are going to deteriorate over time. But like so that's there's still this pervasive thing where it's like there's nothing you can do after 50. It's all downhill from here, kind of thing, and it gets really like declines aggressively. But back then it was even more prevalent, right? And so how come you had that mindset where you were like, I can like what inspired that, and what gave you the confidence thing that I'm going to find out how to go about this, how
Well,
to
like I
help
said,
with this?
at that facility where I got my first real job in the health fitness industry, like I said, I really was fortunate to get a job there. In
Yeah.
the orthopedic surgeon who owned the facility, obviously being in the medical field, he always had this very strong belief that exercise is medicine, and he was always trying to sell that product and trying to get it like, how can we make exercise part of medicine, kind of thing, and really rehabilitation, physical therapy and he was unique in that the type of physical therapy they did was very, I would guess, even by today's standards, aggressive. That they would put people on Nautilus machines back then, and later we got medics, but Nautilus machines back then, and to get them to exercise. And he was fortunate. He came about this because he did his internship back in Atlanta, Georgia, where what's his name, Dr. Allman was. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Let me see. Anyway, but he was
Oh,
considered
we can get afterwards. Yep.
the godfather of sports medicine, and he had a really good relationship with Arthur Jones. And so this is where the doctor that owned Scar got his to. He came to the West Coast with 2 Nautilus lines, and Arthur Jones told him, wanted him to promote the equipment, sell the equipment, sort of be a distributorship in that area. But that wasn't the doctor's focus. He wanted to help people and that sort of thing. So I think that's where my came from was that always trying to find it that, this was one of the most beneficial thing that people could do to improve their life and such. And so he was always trying to do that. And so that's became my philosophy as well.
Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go-to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number 1, they tailor-make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number 2, they provide cost-effective solutions for your business. And number 3, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today. Got it. Okay. So fascinating stuff. So let's learn a little bit more about the business model here. So can you tell us a little bit about Simply Strong in terms of you started alluding to it earlier where you said, you kicked off selling packages and it sounds like you transitioned to more of a membership subscription model, but just tell us a bit more about the business, what you offer, the services, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously it's one-on-one personal training. We use high intensity, slow motion strength training. Typically the sessions are 20 minutes. We encourage people to come twice a week for at least the first 8 weeks. After that, we kind of help make them decision whether, they're working at a high enough intensity level that once a week is fine for them. Some people, because of financial reasons and such, they only want to come once a week. And that's great. Everything is one-on-one. And we use MedX equipment. We're fortunate to get a really nice line of equipment. We use a protocol, a slow motion protocol, a 10-10, ideally. We're not real strict on that because some people just can't do that. But really the most important thing I feel is to get them to work at their highest level of effort or intensity. And we try and get them to what we call achieve muscle exhaustion, somewhere between 1 and 2 minutes, ideally right around 90 seconds or so. And we're always trying to progress them and such. And let them know right away that, our main focus, we're trying to go after people that are over 50. We do have a couple younger clients. Our youngest is 32 years old and our oldest is 95.
Spring chicken.
Yeah. But most people are probably over 60. Probably I'd say about 70-30, 65, 70-30 female to male. We let them know this is not a competition. This is not, we're not comparing you to anybody. And I like to tell people that, I say, look, I learned a long time ago or I heard this a long time ago on a motivational tape or whatever, that success is the pursuit of a worthy goal. And I said, your worthy goal should be every birthday from this point on is I'm going to try and be a little bit stronger than I was on my last birthday. And if you can do that and keep that in perspective, and if you go on vacation, or you can't work out for a while, or that sort of thing, it's no big deal. It's just stay with it. Just pursue that one goal, is try and be stronger on your next birthday. And so they like that.
I love that. Great attitude. Well, that's great. Great data you just shared there on your market and that kind of thing. That's really interesting. And before, so I don't forget, if anyone wants to see a fantastic website, you've got to take a look at their website, simplystrong.us.us. I think you guys done a really good job just making sure that the copy and the layout really resonates with the target market. All the graphics, all the photos show your avatar there, and it's a really nice just user experience. Can you tell us, it's quite new, isn't it? Is it is it less than a year old, the website?
The website has always been a work in progress.
Always will be.
Yes. We're very fortunate. We talk about marketing and such. When we first opened, obviously there was an internet and everything, but there was still a local newspaper and that sort of thing. And we did work with a marketing agency. We did what we found our most successful marketing is we did an insert, a flyer insert in the newspaper, and distribute it. We were able to do it in a zip code, so we would do it in a couple zip codes near our facility and such. And we got a really good response from that. But nowadays, nobody reads the paper anymore. It's really,
even your market.
It's about comic size. Yeah, even my market now has moved on to the internet. I mean,
they're all on Facebook
and Instagram. I was, so we, and the other thing is Google search. I mean, we've gotten a lot of people through Google search. And so that's why we hired and just within the last, probably a little over a year, we hired a new marketing guy. And I had such bad experience. I was the guy that, I love marketing. Okay. But my wife is yelling background here, but
what would she say? You don't know anything about marketing.
But I had bad experience, looking online marketing companies. Okay. And the last one was really bad. I mean, so my wife said, okay, that's it. You're never doing an online marketing company again. They have to be local. They have to be somebody here. They have to be somebody that we can meet with and such. So we set about looking for a marketing agency here in town. And we found this guy who's like a one-man show. And we interviewed him and such, and young guy. And he told me that he was an Eagle Scout. I mean, and as soon as he told me he was an Eagle Scout,
instantly hired.
Okay, you have me now. So this guy's been really good, and it's really great because he bought into our program as well, and we do like a trade, So
is he your 32-year-old?
Pardon me?
Is he your 32-year-old that you mentioned?
No, he's probably he's close to 40.
Oh, I see.
He's got his wife
still a spring chicken.
Yeah, he's still young. He's got 2 young kids, and he's got his wife involved. And anyway, it's a great deal. Anyway, he's the guy that just yesterday I called him. I says, "Hey, can you change this?" Boom, it's done. And then he was the one who was instrumental in convincing us that we should do a video. And so we hired this local company that he worked with, and they did that video it's about 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Really just kind of talking about Simply Strong and what we do and that sort of thing. And it's very nice. It's very professionally done, and it's really made a difference already. So
I'm watching it right now. It's a thing of beauty. He's done a great job. So he basically is responsible for the website and helping you optimize Google local SEO. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we just started an ad campaign on Facebook and Instagram. I guess they're
Okay.
combined now. So I know I'm pretty much internet illiterate, but so I leave that to my daughter Katie, who pretty much runs the
Sure.
facility nowadays, and Nick, the guy who's our marketing guy.
Do you want to? I don't know whether you want to. I don't. Obviously, Nick will get inquiries from this. But do you want to mention Nick's business or his website?
Yeah, he's local in Eugene. His name is Nick Wiley, and his company is eagleeyemedia.com.
Very good. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Yeah. Excellent job. Excellent. Is Mike, you say? Sorry, did you?
No,
Is
Nick.
that his name? Mike. Nick.
No.
Sorry. I can't even read my own handwriting. Nick. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. All right. So well done, Nick. Great job. Excellent. Okay. And you were sharing with me before we got started, $56 per session on average, and varying from sort of 200, 260 sessions per week, which is excellent.
Yeah.
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 Great job.
It's we have 4 trainers. We're open 6 days a week, but we have we do a full day 3 days a week: Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. We go from 7 to 1 o'clock.
Why is that? I noticed that on your opening hours. Yeah.
Why do we open that?
Why do you finish early on those days?
So we can play golf.
Is that are you pulling my leg, or is that the genuine reason?
It's worked well for us. I mean, because 7 to 7 is a long day. I usually work from 7 to 1, but my 2 kids, they're there from 7 to 7. Usually it is a long day. It's nice to just go a half day. Those half days they're pretty busy. People really bunch in on those half days. So we get it done, and then we have a life as well outside.
Yeah, fair enough. But you must get clients ask for times outside those sessions, right? During that time where you're not open. You must get that quite a bit, right?
No.
No? Well, because you advertise it clearly, do you?
I mean, it's just the Friday afternoons, nobody wants to work out anyway.
Okay.
Wednesday is kind of right in the middle of the week, and that's the day it just works for us to, usually, with our clientele, they want to come all throughout the day. If you're working with the younger clientele, they want to go first thing in the morning or later at night, right? With older clientele, most of them are retired or whatever. They have a lot of time, and
Interesting.
we just tell them this is, it's like what we charge. At first I was kind of like always, hesitant about bringing up our price structure and such. And then, listening to Luke and everything is like, don't undervalue yourself. What we do is a real service, and it's valuable, and, you should charge accordingly. And don't be afraid to say that. So we put the prices right on the website, and people ask us what's it cost. We tell them, and some people go, "Oh, that's not in my budget." Okay. And then other people like, "Okay, that's fine."
Yeah.
We do offer a free trial. So that's sort of the way to get people in is just, give us a try and see what you think. And it's during that time that we can find out about them, what their, what their problems are, what their pain points are, so to speak. And then focus on how we can provide a solution for them. And we guarantee our program, if they're not measurably stronger in 12 weeks, and we will refund their money.
I love that. I love that guarantee. So I wrote that down. 12-week guarantee. Give us 12 weeks straight. Work out at least one time per week. And if you aren't measurably stronger at the end of 12 weeks, we'll refund your first 12 sessions. Because you're not going to provide any refunds, because of course they're going to be stronger after 12 weeks. So that's genius. And as
Yeah,
you know, you're,
but it
go
sounds
ahead,
good.
Ed.
I mean, it sort of takes the risk out of it, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, look, guarantees are very effective ways to close business, all right, to sell more sessions and get more clients. Because the um, they give the prospect a much higher perception that this is going to be a successful investment, right? Because it's like, it makes it like a no-brainer. And I know you're a fan of EOS, and EOS, for those listening, is an operating system for running your business. And there's a book on it called Traction by Gino Wickman. And in there, he talks about like trying to come up with your guarantee. And I think a lot of us kind of skip that part. You know, I don't know many high intensity training businesses that have guarantees. And I think you've got a really good one here. So I was quite impressed by that. And just to hark back, you mentioned Luke, just so again, for those listening who aren't aware, Ed's referring to Luke Carlson, who's founder and CEO of Discover Strength. And he's just, you know, phenomenal business owner, but also mentor to many of us in this space. I say this because I think a lot of the conversations on this podcast are like in jokes, Ed, where like the community knows, but then I have to remember that
Yeah.
there's people tuning into this who have no idea about this business, all these people.
Well,
So yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, for people who don't know, I consider Luke Carlson to be a genius in organization and business, running a business and such. I mean, he is, you know, he's just above everybody as far as I'm concerned and such. And so, my daughter Katie was fortunate enough to be able to attend one of his seminars, like a weekend seminar on running a high intensity business. And this is the way Discover Strength does it. That's his facility. And we learned so much from that. Katie brought home a binder full of information and such that we started implementing right away. And it really helped us with our growth and such. So hats off to Luke. And I think it's great that he's willing to share all that information and knowledge that he has and such. And so it's great.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He must get sick of hearing all the compliments. Although if I know him correctly, he'll be listening to this whilst he's running on some stepmaster step mill thing. And then, you know, as he's getting more compliments, he's increasing the difficulty on the incline because he's getting so motivated. But yeah, I mean, look, for those interested, I mean, obviously I highly recommend if you're in business and a hit business and you want to get some great business advice, you just have to search Luke Carlson on highintensitybusiness.com or on the Google or on YouTube, on the Google. How old do I sound? Or on YouTube, and you'll come across great content with him. And I drink, and even if stuff he does, not on my show, just other bits he does with other, you know, podcasters or whatever, I consume it all because it's all really useful. All right. So you talked about equipment, you talked about training protocols. One of the things I actually wanted to ask you is clearly you guys have, you know, you've been working with older clientele for a long time now, and you've really built your business around those individuals. And I would love to get some tips from you, like for those listening who obviously there's, you know, few colleagues who have the same market as you, right? And they're trying to learn how to design their service for that market. So what tips do you have, Ed, for working with older clients? Like, you could think of like top 3 most important things you've learned to help those listening.
Wow.
First things that come to mind.
From the standpoint, you know, with any kind of sales, and especially with older clients and such, is find out what they're looking for. What's their problem? You know, why do they seek you out and such? The other thing is that, you know, when we start, we don't try and like, you know, I'm really going to work this person out, really, you know, get them exhausted the first time out or the first few times. We take it easy, right? We want to introduce them to the equipment. A lot of these people have never done anything like this before. And so it's a new experience to them. And in our facility, we try and make it warm and inviting. You know, it doesn't look like in my mind, doesn't look like the typical gym and such. And we have a uniform look. We all wear the same shirts and that sort of thing. And, you know, I think it kind of helps because I'm like of their age, but my daughter and my son, they're younger and such. And they kind of like to get involved in their lives, what's going on with them and that sort of thing. So we progress them gradually to start with and such, and depending on the individual. And we find that really important. The other thing I think really helps too is my daughter. We made it a point to, when people sign up and such, that we send them a card. We mail a card to them, and nobody writes anybody anymore,
Great idea.
right?
Yeah.
And nobody, telephone is one thing, but we send them a card, and we thank them for becoming a part of the family. We encourage them and let them know that, essentially we've got their back. We're going to help them out. And, and they really appreciate that. If they have some sort of traumatic experience, or they have an issue or whatever, we'll send them a card. We develop relationships with some of these people. And it's, a lot of times people get older and such, they feel like, they're irrelevant, but this gives them an opportunity. They're part of something. They can do something for themselves. And most people, they love it. They keep coming back.
That's fascinating. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but you're right. Obviously, a lot of older people are quite lonely, and I have these conversations quite a lot when I'm helping to generate more business for Optima Strength, our studio here in Galway in Ireland. And I get that answer quite a lot. I need to do something for myself, and maybe they feel at a bit of a loss. Maybe they've gone through a certain amount of tragedy in their family, or as they're getting older, obviously people pass away and things happen, or their own quality of life is really starting to degrade, and they're really looking for something. It's not just strength training; that is part of it, but it is a community, and if you can incorporate into that handwritten notes, thoughtful gestures, messages and phone calls and texts when certain important intervals in their lives, like, these things are really effective. And obviously, looking at it purely from a ruthless kind of entrepreneurial standpoint, yes, they help you retain more customers and drive more referrals, all of that, but it's also just a very human and caring and rewarding thing to do, right? As well.
I mean, that's
feel great.
Our vision is that strength makes life better, and we convey that feeling. And then our mission is to strengthen people's lives. Just very simple. And so if we can convey that to these people who come in and say, look, this is the one thing that you can do that's going to have the most beneficial impact on your health, your well-being, the quality of your life, and your longevity, and it only takes 20 minutes once or twice a week, people are going like, okay, that sounds good. And then with that video that we just created, it's really powerful that people can see, kind of get an idea of what we do, what the facility's like, and who the people are that work there and such. And so it's really great. And we feel really honored and blessed to be able to be in this kind of business and provide this kind of service for people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a couple of things there. So you've also got 59 reviews, average 5 stars on Google. What's your tactic there for getting more Google reviews? Because it's a good number and a good standard. That's a testament to your service.
Well, that's to be honest, we solicit them.
Of course, yeah,
members, and we find that it's good to do it within the first month. Is share your experience. When they're all excited and that kind of stuff, then or if they've got a good result. Just the other day we had one of our clients told us that she just had another bone scan, that she came to us originally because her doctor told her that she had osteoporosis and they wanted to put her on medicine and such, and she didn't want to do that. She wanted to try something else. So she came to us, and 2 years later, her bone density improved 20%.
Wow.
20%. That's like crazy. So I told her, okay, you can help us out. You can write a Google review on it.
Well, can we get real specific on this? So I love this. It
Yeah.
makes complete sense. First month when they're super excited or they've got some positive news like the bone
Yeah.
scan. What do you say? How do you do it? Is it a
Well,
conversation? Yeah, go ahead.
actually, what we did was we do that just in at the facility. Like if somebody tells us their story or whatever, we say, hey,
Uh-huh.
it would be great if you help us with a Google review, and that just kind of helps us with our positioning on Google and such.
Mhm.
You know, where we're positioned. Like if somebody's looking for personal training, we come up first.
Mhm.
Perfect. But we also send out an email soliciting people to give us a review.
What do you say in the email exactly? Do you remember? Or is this
I
a
can't
Katie
tell you
question?
exactly what we say, but it was created by Nick, and
Okay.
our marketing guy, and he also provides an easy link to do a Google review,
Yep.
and then we send out those emails in batches. Like I don't know, we do 20 at a time
Okay.
to our clients and ask for a Google review.
Yeah.
And we went from, I don't know, we had maybe 13 or 14 to 59 in a relatively short amount of time. And that really helped our standing on Google.
Did you provide any incentives at all, or is it just, please, can you
No.
help us? No. Okay. Well, in lieu of the exact copy, I will say that what I think works really well, and again, kudos to Nick because clearly he's done a great job, is really brief emails, again, in the way
Yeah.
you're doing it and you can go to, if you just Google your business name, you'll see your Google My Business profile, and there's a little link there that you can share for reviews. And if you provide an incentive like a free workout, you're probably going to get a far higher review rate. And again, it's up to you whether you want to offer a free workout for that, but I think you'll find that it pays you back in a huge amount over the long term. There's a few other tactics for getting Google reviews, but we'll leave it there for now on that. That's really interesting though. Just couple more questions, Ed, and then we'll wrap.
Sure.
Just in terms of your workout length. So I know I ask these questions because I know that, our colleagues from the feedback I've had are just really interested in almost me doing these kind of business profiles on each other. You do 20-minute workouts, obviously older clientele. What does the workout look like? How many exercises? You mentioned the 10-10 protocol that you try and stick to. Is it single set to failure? How many exercises? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Typically it's 5 to 6 exercises. Occasionally somebody may have special need or whatever, and we'll do 7. But typically we do 20-minute sessions. Originally it was 15 minutes, but we were booking every 20 minutes. And so it didn't make sense. The workout's 15 minutes, but we're doing it every 20. So I just said, change it to 20 minutes. Okay. So, so we do a full body exercise. We've got 17 pieces of MedX equipment and such. So we can design different programs. Some of our clients have 3 different programs or exercise sessions that they go through and such. And then we have people that are typically, they like one routine. They like to do legs, upper body, torso, and that's it. And so we try and customize it to the individual, what their needs are, what their wants are and such.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, with our age demographic and such, you don't really need more than that. I mean, it's not about, like I tell them, it's not about how long you exercise. It's the most important thing is the intensity of your effort. And that's what's going to change everything. So makes it simple.
Yeah. Perfect. Sounds good. And mostly sort of multi-joint exercises to get the most bang for buck, I guess.
Compound
Pull
exercises,
downs, chest presses,
compound.
etc. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Great. I'm just trying to think here what else I'd ask you, but you've been really, really thorough, Ed. Really enjoyed learning about your business. Is there anything else you can share? Actually, I know you shared so much already on working with older clients, but I bet there's more in there. So what else comes to mind for you in terms of working with the older clientele, giving them a great experience, etc.? Yeah.
Okay. One of the advantages is it's the older clients they need they need what you're selling, right? And it's, if you find out what their issues are, what they're dealing with and such, it's really simple to sort of gear your presentation to them for that. We don't bore them with, this is the best equipment and that kind of stuff. It's just like, what are the benefits? What are they going to get out of it and such? The other thing that's great is that they have the time to do this, right? That, they're in most cases retired. And typically they have the money, right? It never made sense to me why they offer like senior discounts and such, because it's the seniors that have all the money as far as I'm concerned. And,
silly question.
and the other,
Why is it that a certain cohort of seniors do have a lot of money, do you think?
because these are successful people. These are people that have been in high positions or own businesses themselves. One thing I didn't even mention was, we talk about a leads group and such, a business leads group. And I was fortunate enough about 3 years ago to get into probably the best one in the Eugene area, called the Eugene Executives. And these are like, what I call the big heavy hitters in the industry and such. And, throughout this area, very wealthy business owners and very successful and that sort of thing. And from that, we've gotten about 40 clients.
Hang on, this is a networking group, right?
It's a networking group, yes.
And how often do you go to that? Do you still do that now?
Once a week.
Once a
Every
week?
Thursday morning.
And this is, so this is people who are still in business, workers. These are people operating businesses, or
there's some that are retired, and then there's some that they've retired, but they still have their business.
Okay.
Their kids are running the business, that sort of thing.
Right.
That's really instrumental.
That's incredible. That number of clients you've got from that. Is this a national network, just a Eugene thing?
Just local.
But obviously every city has these types of things, right? It's just, they're just different, go by different names, Rotary clubs, etc.
Yeah. What is it? You've got, what is it? One business?
BNI, but I'd say that's lower level than what you're describing.
That didn't work for me.
It's different, yeah.
And I was in a small little leads group thing at one time, and that really wasn't really good because there's only about 14 or 15 people in that one. But
how many people in this one then? The one that you're part of?
This one has 200.
Oh, wow. And how does that work? Well, you're not all 200 meet every week, right?
Well, no. Not everybody's there all the time, but there's well over, usually the average attendance is probably 125 or so.
This is like the dream thing, because this is just for those listening. This is what you should be doing, right? Your target market at this event, right? And they know, obviously, their friends and family, etc., colleagues are also your target market. So that makes sense that you would spend your time there, and it makes sense that you would have derived 40 clients from that.
Like I said, I was very fortunate to get in that group. It's pretty exclusive.
I see. How did you go about that?
Well, let's see. My son in high school was friends. His friend, their family had been in this group for a long time and such, and we got to be friends because we'd go to athletic events and that sort of thing. And one day the guy said, "Hey, would you be interested in joining this business leads group, the Eugene Executives?" Hell yes. Because they have, you have only one business from, different categories, right? And the health and fitness one opened up, and he said, "Would you like to, join?" I said, "Yes." It's
amazing.
And so I joined. It was about 3 years ago. So, and it takes a while. It takes a while before they kind of get to know you and
know, like, and trust,
promote your business. But you get every week somebody different does a presentation on their business and their background, that sort of thing. And so I gave mine, I don't know, probably within the first 6 months or so of being in the group, and based on that and explaining what we do and why we do it. Man, I started getting people would say, hey, I got to try that out. I want to do that. That sounds great. And it's been a great thing for us.
Interesting. I've got to say that out of all, I mean, look, I've had, we'll wrap up in a minute, Ed, but I've had obviously so many people on this podcast. I've done so much content inside the membership with the likes of Luke Carlson and many others. So we've covered a lot of lead generation strategies and tactics and things, but like networking is right up there as one of like the top like 1 to 3 things. And it's just about finding what's the networking opportunity in your local area with your target market, right? And if you're seeking affluent busy professionals, and maybe that's BNI, as you alluded to, and if it's an older clientele, maybe you've got to find your version of, what's the event called again? Executive something?
Eugene Executives Association.
You got to find your Eugene Executive Association of, New York, of Chicago, wherever you're located, right?
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to get in.
Right. You got to beg.
You gotta have to know somebody, and yeah, I was fortunate. A lot of things
Sure.
in my life have been very fortunate and such, and yeah. So I would, you mentioned I have 10 kids, and I can't, before we close up, I got to,
yeah, please.
that, people nowadays, they look at you, oh my gosh, you're crazy, but I wouldn't have done it any other way. My life has been a blessing, and I am so fortunate, and I am so proud of every one of my kids. And, it's almost Thanksgiving here in the States. Next week is Thanksgiving, and that's my favorite holiday, because that's when, there's no pressure, right? It's like there's no gifts, there's no cards you got to send out, that kind of stuff. And usually
That sounds great.
Family wants to gather and do that. And so this year, my whole family's coming except for one son and his wife. They couldn't make it up. But I mean, I remember somebody saying, like, family's not important. Family is everything.
Is everything.
I totally believe that. I mean, it's just, to see these kids, when you go from changing their diapers to getting them through the teenage years and such, to, they start to fly and get on their own and doing their own things and such. And it's just a blessing to be part of that. And that's one of my motivations, to stay healthy, to stay strong, and live as long as I can, just to be part of that.
And I don't want me saying this, Ed, no, firstly, that's a beautiful tradition. I'm jealous that you guys do that. I wish we did that here. Maybe we can. But you're older than you look, right? Because you look like, I'm going to say you look
I'm
like
73. I'll be 73 next month.
Yeah, well, you look well. You look great. I would have said,
well,
like,
I have my own health issues that I'm dealing with and such, but I truly believe that what I do, and I'm just trying to be an example for other people,
Yeah,
and,
good for you. Yeah.
And so far, everything's great.
Well, look, Ed, thank you so much for doing this. This has been amazing. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed learning about you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you. I feel honored that you would want to even talk to me.
Of course. And so let's just make sure people know how to find you. So it's simplystrong.us is the place to send people, is it? If they want to learn about your business? Yeah. Simple as that. Excellent stuff. Thank you again for doing this. And for everyone listening, to get the show notes for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com and search for episode 442. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIT business, continuous innovation and refinement, ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIT business with Imagine Strength.
Let's go.